Okay, today we begin the second phase of our four square outline, which is adding supporting details. So yesterday you had an assignment where you created four outlines, four square outlines, mini outlines, and you were supposed to write a sentence and then give specific and, if you could, non-opinionated answers, and then a wrap-up sentence. So here's an example of where we left off yesterday. You didn't do this example. This is going to be one I'm going to be using as we continue to go through this process. So this one says, my favorite meal is spaghetti. So we have our thesis or argument in the center. And then I have my reasons or claims on quadrants 1, 2, and 3. It's fun to eat, it's easy, it's delicious. And then my wrap-up sentence where I take my argument and my claims and I put them together. Remember, it's very similar to restating your claim and the review of your conclusion. So my favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's easy, fun to eat, and delicious. So today we're going to go one step farther. But to understand why we need to go one step farther, I want you to imagine if I were to write an essay just by using what I have right now. If I were to move what I have on this outline onto paper, this is how it would sound. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's easy. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's fun to eat. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's delicious. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's easy, fun to eat, and delicious. So you can probably understand that that didn't sound very good at all, did it? It was repetitive, it was choppy. Of course, it wasn't an essay, it was just one paragraph. So we still have quite a bit to do before we get to the point where our outline is complete enough to transfer onto paper. So the next thing we need to do is add supporting details. So if I'm going to say my favorite meal is spaghetti, I'm going to come up and I'm just going to give you 3 examples of supporting details for each of my reasons. So all I'm doing right here is I'm just putting a little dash. You could put a bullet point if you wanted to on your paper, but I'm just writing, okay, 3 reasons why it's easy. It's kind of like my justification for the claim. So you roll up the meat, you throw it in a pot, and you pour the store-bought sauce over it. So that's a simple process. Those are 3 details on why it's easy. It's fun to eat. Why? Well, you can twirl on your fork. You can slurp it. You can splatter the sauce. It's delicious. Why? Tomatoes. Italian spices. Filling meat. In other words, the meat makes you feel makes you feel full when you're done. And then, as you can see, you do nothing to your wrap-up sentence. It just stays there as it was. So all I've done at this stage is add pretty much justifications to my reasons and claims. In other words, I gave specific reasons why it's easy, why it's fun to eat, and why it's delicious. So now if I were to transfer this onto paper, it would read like this. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's easy. You simply roll up the meat, then throw it in a pot, and pour on the store-bought sauce. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's fun to eat. I like to twirl it on my fork. It's fun to slurp. I always splatter the sauce. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's delicious. I like the taste of tomatoes. The Italian spices are great. The meat is very filling. My favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs because it's easy, fun to eat, and delicious. So as you can see, at this point, by adding the details, the supporting details to our claims and reasons, it sounds a lot better, and you actually can break it up into paragraphs. However, you probably also realize there's still a lot more that needs to happen to make this essay proper. Uh, for example, you may be thinking about transition sentences and also more details. So what I want you to do to practice this new phase is to flip your paper around and draw 4 new mini 4 squares in each quadrant. So this is where you need to fold it hamburger twice. Or if you still have the paper we did yesterday, where we did the 4 mini quadrants, that's why I said flip it around. I want you to draw the 4 quadrants on the back of that, and then hold on to it, and I'll pick it up tomorrow. So use the paper, your homework from yesterday, flip it around, draw 4 mini 4 square outlines. And then if you've lost that paper, or for some reason you've already turned it in, there will be extra copies or extra copy paper for you to do this on. Then in the center of your 4 square outlines, you need to write these 4 sentences. My school is great. My favorite holiday is blank. When I grow up, I'd like to be a blank. Reading is important. And actually, that one wouldn't need a blank, so really. You could do this. Reading is important. So at this point, you can pause it. You can pause the screen so that you can write down these sentences in the 4 square outlines that you've made. So that's your homework. You have the remaining time in class to do it if you finish early. There are other things to do. Study your vocab. Read a book. And if you're absolutely confused, you will probably have someone at your table that can help you.